Okay, so, this is a video I intended to record a while ago. So, back in November, I went to YCS Pittsburgh, and after YCS Pittsburgh, I meant to record this video. At the YCS, I played Dinomorphia, and this is for the most part the list I brought. After the YCS, I did put the Fenrir's from the side deck over into the main deck, just because I felt they were more useful in the main deck. But other than that, this is the list that I used at YCS Pittsburgh. I meant to record this video shortly after YCS Pittsburgh, but never got around to it. And today, we're finally recording this update. It's been like 10 months since I've made an update on this list, and things have changed. So, we have our 3 copies of Theresia and Diplos. I'm going to go over these 2 cards at the same time. Mostly because if you've watched my previous deck profiles for Dinomorphia, you'll understand that these are the only 2 main deck monsters. So I'm just going to go over them at the same time. As per usual, if you feel that you only need the 2 Diplos, you can replace the Diplos with a copy of Fossil Dig, or just take it out. This is I believe, 47 card list. But yeah, Theresia sets a trap from your deck, and Diplos mills a card from your deck. Diplos, if you have 2,000 or less life points, will burn the opponent for 500. Theresia will gain 500 attack points. I personally just like having the 3rd Diplos, so this way I have the extra names. Up next is the state-mandated 1 copy of Misk. I stand by my opinion that this card could come back. I do also understand the arguments against it, and I can't say those aren't valid arguments. Being able to make all of your dinosaurs unaffected for a main phase is powerful. And just being able to banish this card to summon Baby Cerosaurus is, again, powerful. I understand that this card is really powerful, but so is cards like Sengen Summoning and Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. And yes, I am aware that Sengen Summoning is also limited, but that's also because Tenpai was a powerful deck, and Dinopile is not a meta threat right now. Up next, we're going to go over all the hand traps at the same time. 2 copies of Droll. This card should be banned, not semi-limited. 2 copies of Ghost Bell. I can't remember if I'm running 2 because I only own 2, or there's some strategic reason behind the only 2 copies of it. It might just be to try to cut down on how many cards are in my deck. And, you know, Ghost Bell was only really useful in the Yummy matchup, in the Mitsui matchup, but I liked having it in the main deck because while those are the 2 most useful, there were some rogue strategies messing with the graveyard, so it was nice to have it in the main deck. You know her, you love her, Triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Just telling your opponent no is powerful. No, you're not allowed to search. No, you're not allowed to mill. No, you're not allowed to summon from deck. Yes. That was a good effect. Up next, we have the Triple Wannabe. Wannabe, you can send her from your hand or field to the graveyard during the end phase to set a trap from your deck by excavating the top cards of your deck equal to the number of unused monster zones on your opponent's field. She's really powerful going first, because you can just excavate 5, set any trap you want from your deck, and then the rest go to the bottom in any order. Something that did pop up a lot is the fact that you can actually use her effect on field. So let's say that you have you opened up 4 trap cards in Wannabe. You set the 4 traps, you normal summon Wannabe. You go to the end phase, you send her from the field to the graveyard to use her effect to get the 5th trap. And the reason you did this was because if your opponent was on K9, and it wouldn't trigger the K9 effects because it activated on the field, not in the hand or in the graveyard. One of the changes that was made to this deck list after the YCS, but still technically at the YCS, was I moved my Fenris to the main deck. During the entire YCS, they were in the side deck. But after after I didn't make it to day 2, I moved them out of the side deck and put them in the main deck. So this way, if I do go second, if I lose the die roll and go second, if I open a Fenrir, I still have plays. This is part of the reason the deck is 47 cards. There's another reason it's 47 cards as well. This would be a 42 card deck if it wasn't for the Fenris, and an interesting tech pick that I made that saved my ass in more than one game. It also got the judge's attention, which that is the part I actually find funny. We're going to go over the next 2 cards at the same time as well. Dinomorphia Frenzy and Dinomorphia Domain. So, this lets you send a Dinomorphia from your deck and your extra deck to the graveyard to fusion summon. And this lets you send any number of Dinomorphias to your graveyard. I believe it is any number, or is it exactly 2? Yeah. You just fusion summon a Dinomorphia. So this is a Brand of Fusion as a trap card. And this is, I guess, I guess Brand New Fusion on crack, because it lets you use the extra deck. I have found more people who are actually ashing Domain than Frenzy in paper. Whereas on Master Duel, I was using Frenzy as a Ash Blossom bait to resolve this. Because if Frenzy's in your graveyard, but you resolve the Domain, you can just banish Frenzy off of Kentragina to use her effect. The 1 copy of Brute, this is a Garnet. You don't want to see this card, you want to mill it off Diplos. This is your main Diplos target. The card reads underwhelming to people who don't play Dinomorphia because it's effectively bad Raigeki break. But the ability to just proactively pop any Dinomorphia you want, and in the process get rid of a problematic card in your opponent's field, is really nice. Yeah, this card is just underrated. Up next is the 2 copies of Alert. Alert is a card that some decks run at 2, some decks run at 1. I like running it at 2 because it makes it even more so that board nukes are useless. So I have out Kentragina and Rex Term, and you board wipe me. I use Rex Term's effect to revive Kentragina, and I use Kentragina's effect to revive Diplos. Diplos will then use its effect to mill Alert, and then I can banish it to copy the effect of Alert with Kentragina, which will allow me to summon out up to 2 Dinomorphia monsters whose total level does not exceed 8. This is why I believe that if we get more Dinomorphia support, we're going to be getting a level 2 monster. So this way you can revive Kentragina and a main deck guy off of 1 copy of Alert. Plus, the Dinomorphia main deck guys don't say summon a level 4 Dinomorphia, they say summon a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia. Which, that part you could argue is just there, that's just there for future-proofing. But if another card talks about the level 8, and we have a level 6 fusion but no level 2s, it kind of makes sense we're going to be getting level 2s in the future. We're going to talk about the counter traps at the same time. This is my entire counter trap lineup. I moved the Judgment over to the side deck because of it being limited. It just really wasn't worth main decking it, but also I wanted to have it in the deck still. So if you control a Dinomorphia card, you can activate this to negate a monster effect by paying half your life points. And if you destroy a Dinomorphia, you can negate a spell trap with this one. Also, just like all the Dinomorphia counter traps, you can banish them to prevent you from taking battle damage. I would not use this effect the turn you use Intax effect, which is this one, the monster negate, because it prevents. It already makes it so that you can't die that turn by battle. So don't waste the effect to avoid battle damage on this card. On a turn you use this card. And all the Dinomorphia normal traps, you can banish them to prevent effect damage. You're very rarely using that effect, though. Up next is the triple imperm. This is infinite impermanence. Moving on. Three copies of Ferret Flames. Ferret Flames is the best worst card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Not to be confused with Snipe Hunter, who's the worst best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! So, by activating Ferret Flames, you force your opponent to shuffle back monsters they control into their deck until the the total attack points of their monsters does not exceed your life points. Since this card affects the player and not the monster, it does get around stuff like the Arrival Cybersat Ignister's unaffected protection. It gets around basically all protection because it affects the player. So if your opponent doesn't have a negate for the Ferret Flames, they're losing their board. And finally, for the traps, we have the two copies of Trap Tracks. I still feel that this is better than Trap Trick because of first of all, I can get my one-of traps, like I can get my Dinomorphia Brute. I think that's actually my only one-of normal trap. It lets me get my one-of Brute if I need the Brute. It makes it so that I don't need to banish other normal. Also, since it destroys a Dinomorphia I control, I get off its floating effect, and I can just banish the Trap Track as cost for the floating effect. Because this card has already served its purpose. Just remember that just like Trap Trick, while yes, the trap card that you set can be activated the turn you set it, it's also the only trap you can activate for the rest of the turn. So I typically activate Trap Tracks as late as possible into the turn. So this way I get maximum value out of my other traps. So, we are still on the Super Poly build. Yes, I do wish that I could afford the Fiendsmith cards. They have gone down in price since my last video. But I still can't get my hands on them because of financial issues. We make the Super Poly build work. If I had the Fiendsmith cards, I probably could have gone 5-5 or 4-5. Some of my matchups would have been a lot better if I could just say Desiree negate. So, we got the two copies of Fossil Dig. This is the card that most people say that you don't need to... this is the reason you only need 2 Diplos. You run this card at 3. I personally like having 2 Fossil Dig and 3 Diplos, so this way I have more names for fusion summoning with Kentragina, not Kentragina, Inde Kentragina, with, Domain and, Frenzy. And now that interesting tech pick that I told you guys about. 2 copies of Mass Exchange 2. In testing, I found that Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler were basically the bane of this deck's existence because it would prevent, your Theresia from being able to do Theresia things. I think I resolved this card twice, and one of the 2 times I forgot to discard a card and my opponent didn't call me out. If my opponent called me out, I would have discarded the card. But I just forgot to discard at one point. Yeah, I cheated. I don't think it made a difference in the matchup, but I did forget to discard a card the first time I used this card at the YCS. Because most people think that it works like Mask Change, but you aren't locked into here. You can send non-heroes. It does work like that, but you do need to discard a card. So I messed up there. That's on me. But yeah, by sending 3 easy to your graveyard of a Mask Change 2, you can dodge in perm and effective on those types of effects. Up next, we have the 2 copies of Kentragina. I've kind of gone over her as the as we've been talking about the trap cards, but she loses attack points equal to your life points. She starts at 4,000, so her strongest is 3,999. I have gotten her to that value since making the last video. On Master Duel, I got her that high once, and then my opponent immediately surrendered. The highest I've actually ever attacked with her is 3,998. But yeah, she can banish a trap card, and then she can banish a trap card from your graveyard, or to pay half your life points and banish a Dinomorphia normal trap from your graveyard, and apply that trap card's effect. Also, if she's destroyed, she summons a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia from your graveyard. Up next is Stealthburgia. I'm sorry, Dinomorphia Frenzy Fodder. This card is only in the deck for Frenzy. His effect, the text on this guy is basically irrelevant, because you're just sending him to the graveyard for Dinomorphia Frenzy to make Rex turn. The boy himself, Rex turn. Your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters with less attack points than this card, or with less attack points than with life points equal to or greater than your life points. Seeing as your life points are 10, I think I got, at the YCS, I think I got my life points down to 50 before people just started scooping. But yeah, he's also a Dark Honest. You can pay half your life points, and then whatever your life points are the attack points of all your monsters to get set to that. And since it's a quick effect, you can activate it during the damage step, because it is a direct attack modification effect. So they can't even easily respond to it. And it just makes it so that your opponent is basically forced to commit suicide because they dared to attack while you had out Rex turn. He is indeed a Mystic Mind at home. And I hate the fact I love it. In my friend group, I'm the aggro player. And yet I love this stun deck. Yes, it's a stun deck. I hate the fact that it's a stun deck. It's a stun deck with control elements. We need more Dinomorphia support, so it's more control-y, like I'm pretty sure it was intended to be. This deck feels like it was intended to be a control deck, because they're only boss monster. Because I don't consider Kentragina a boss monster. I consider her something along the lines of like Sunrise, where she's an extra deck ace you keep on board, but not necessarily a boss. The boss monster is just Mystic Mind on legs. The deck's a stun deck, as much as I hate to admit it. I'm probably going to be switching over to Sky Striker as my primary deck, but I do still enjoy this deck. But after I switch over to Sky Striker OTK, like Sky Striker Linkage OTK, I will be making a deck profile on that deck as well. I also am currently in the process of building Rose Dragons for my local goals Heart of the Underdog format. So when that gets finished, I will make a deck profile on that deck too. Up next are the 3 super polymerization targets. I'm sorry, 4 super polymerization targets. I forgot that this build is running 4 super poly targets. Muddragon, Garura, And, so you got your normal offenders for Super Poly targets. Mudragon, Garura, and Dracostapelia. If you know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh, you know why these 3 super polymerization targets were selected. But I also started running Secretarian Dragon. It matches up really well into the Draco Tail matchup, so I was running that. It also helped with, I believe it was the, so if my opponent, so I went up against, it didn't really help much about against other decks. But since I had the room to be main decking this card, I decided to main deck it. Or, well, yeah. Just so this way I had a Super Poly target for, to go up against, Draco Tail in the main deck, and I didn't need to side it in. It's not as bad of a matchup as, like, say, U-Bell was, back when U-Bell was a popular deck. But I still like to have that in the main deck, and there was room for it. I had to cut SP for it, but there was room for it. Up next is the 1 copy of Masked Hero Dark Law. You saw the mask change too. You know there was going to be a dark Masked Hero in here. And we specifically went with Dark Law. 1, because Anki's not great. Like, it has a place in Hero. But when you're running a mask change package, you're doing it just to get the Dark Law. Plus, if you banish Snatchy, you kind of just beat Yummy. I can't remember if Snatchy was at 1 for this YCS or not. I'd have to double check that, because again, it's been a couple months since the YCS. But still, getting rid of your opponent's Snatchies basically won you the game. The one of Dolka and the one of Logia. This was another card I was contemplating removing. Because it's just another copy of Infinite. It's an Infinite Impermanence that sits in the extra deck. And my opponent isn't really able to activate monster effects. But, if I can't... But, if they out the Rex term, going into this might be helpful. And then Logia kind of just tells the opponent they're not allowed to do the thing. And then we got SP Little Knight here. It's SP Little Knight. There's not a whole lot to say about her. On to the side deck. We are running Rivalry, Gozen, and Anti-Spell Fragrance. These kind of just are designed to slow down the opponent. Because they have to set their spells before they use them, and they can't use them to turn their set. This is the type, right? Yeah, 1 type, and this is attribute. This popped up. This card was great into into Draco Tail, because they couldn't control spellcasters and dragons at the same time. I don't think Gozen match came up that much. But it did pop up. I was happy to have the Gozen match. It just didn't pop up as much as Rivalry. Up next is the 3 copies of Evenly Matched. If I'm going second and I open Evenly Matched, I'm going first. I basically get rid of your entire board except for 1 card if you don't have a response to this. Solemn Strike and Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment was recently limited, so we had to drop it down to a 1 of, and we're also running the 1 copy of Strike in the side deck because, again, there were some matchups. I don't think I ever sided this in. I think I might have sided in Judgment once because there was a matchup where I just needed to pay a little bit more life points, so I just wanted another pay half card in the deck. We did move 1 copy of Super Poly over to the side deck. I think that this was moved over to the side deck just so this way I had room for the Fenris in the main. That also might be why I moved over Strike and Judgment. I might have been main decking those during the YCS. I think I was, now that I'm actually thinking about it. Up next, we have the triple Nibiru. Nibiru is a good card. It's really only helpful in our deck going second, or no, if we're forced to go second, though. So it's kind of just a card that, so it was a card I sided in if we were on the draw. Like, yeah, it could be useful going first. Or especially if my opponent was on a combo-heavy deck like Yummy. I definitely sided this in more than once against Yummy, even when I was going first. Because just set 5 back row, and then I don't lose anything when I Nibiru you. And then a lineup of Kaijus in case the opponent is on a deck where I just need to get rid of one guy. It was very fun to just tell my opponent that, you know, there's the boss monster that they built up the entire time they were doing their thing up is now gone. And instead they get a spider. Or a moth. Or whatever kaiju this is supposed to be. I know this one's Mothra. I can't remember the name of the spider. And I don't know who this is. At all. So that's the deck profile. As always, there's not a whole lot of combos to go over. It's kind of just normal summon Theresia, set 4 pass. But with, as always, if you have any questions about piloting the deck, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments. I've been playing this deck for the better part of a year now. Trust me, when we get to the Rose Dragon and the Sky Striker deck profiles, there actually will be a combo section at the end of the video. So this way I can show you guys how to play the deck. Hopefully by then I have a better way to record these than just recording them on my phone. So this way I can actually use 2 hands. Even if I just get a tripod and record them on my phone. And it'd be better than holding them with my hand.